All right. Seems a lot of talk about this movie lately. Lots of reviews for this movie. Seen a lot of reviews. Um, a lot positive. So I'm gonna see if I kind of agree with that or not. But let's talk real quickly about what this is all about. Starting with the IMDb plot. Uh, Pretty simple. Two young religious women are drawn into a game of cat and mouse in the house of a strange man. So very simple stuff there. Um, New movie recently released, so we'll try to keep this spoiler free. There are twists and turns in it, so I don't want to give any of that away. Um, Definitely, it's listed here psychological horror, psychological thriller, so definitely heavily involved in that. I definitely agree with that. Also, quick to mention, as over 14,000 ratings here on IMDb and is also well liked, as I mentioned. So I may or may not agree with that. We'll find out here in a few moments. Um, but kind of where this story is, where it's going, a little bit about it. um, I'll tell you, off the bat, and maybe a little bit of hint of where I'm going here with it. I can tell you off the bat, I really wanted to like the movie. I liked the guys who were behind the film, whatever. They're also behind A Quiet Place and some other stuff that I really liked. So, I've liked a lot of their films. So that was certainly a big draw on why I wanted to watch the film and um, figuring, I don't know if I would say high expectations, but I figured I would really like it. I've liked a lot of their stuff. Um, but, and I guess that might be a little bit of a hint of where I'm going here. Uh, but well, let's stick to the story before I get kind of how I feel about it. You get an introduction to two young women here, very religious, kind of doing their religious thing, kind of going to different homes to speak about their religion and kind of get people to kind of drawn into it, kind of like Jehovah Witness and so forth, which I think they were. I don't remember if they said specifically, but kind of that kind of thing. So they're going around to get a quick introduction to them. They're good friends, but they're doing their thing together. So they end up at this house and knocking on the door of this guy who apparently has expressed some interest in learning a little bit more and about religion and about their religion, and that's kind of why they're there. There are, they follow very specific rules, the two young women, that is, about, knocking on doors and interacting with people and so forth, and what they're supposed to do and not do. You know, he comes to the door, and as he talks with them, at first they're not so interested in going inside. They're just kind of there to, a quick introduction and so forth, and do their thing and leave. But then he, kind of pushes for them to come inside, and even kind of lies to kind of get them inside. But they eventually do, because we wouldn't have a movie if they didn't go inside. So they do. They kind of go inside, and they're together, and again, some interesting talk kind of happens with them, and again, a lot of it is, of course, going to involve religion, and it eventually gets to a point where they kind of want to leave, but he doesn't make it so easy for them to leave. Part of the reason they went in the house is that he's supposed to have a wife in the house, and he says he does, but doesn't really, or at least at first he kind of says she's off doing whatever. So basically he's, there's a lot of religious talk, a lot of talk, basically moves them in the house to another room where, and the girls are kind of persistent on leaving, and he continues to make that a little hard. And again, you're going to see a split between the girls. I think you're going to see one who's a little bit more, I guess, sure of herself, daring and whatever, and then another girl who, is maybe, not as strong shows a little bit more of her fear than the other ones. I think both of them have their fear there once they're not sure that he's going to let them go or not. But obviously, one girl puts on a much stronger face than another one. Um, Ultimately, he basically shows them two doors, and for them to basically pick the doors to go down to escape, or to not necessarily escape at this point, but to exit the house. Basically, he's making them exit the house not in the way that they came, which again is why they're a little fearful. They go down. They eventually do go downstairs into a room where he forces them to do something else. I don't want to go too much further into that. I'll leave that for you guys to see. It obviously it opens the door for other things to happen, and then some twists and turns to come in that. The strange guy in this movie, I didn't say it at the top, but obviously if you guys know or are interested in the film, know that it is Hugh Grant. He's the guy who is the strange guy in this movie. He's certainly aged since the last time I saw him in a movie. Don't know what the last movie I saw him in was. Everybody's raving about his performance, and I do think he puts on a strong performance here. He's certainly not a problem for the movie. Is really good, really creepy, really awkward in this movie. Really has his moments and so forth. And I think even the two girls, I don't, acting is not a problem in this movie. The two girls also do a really good job. Obviously, they have their similarities, but they, at the end of the day, are very different in themselves. So the characters are not an issue in the movie. And neither is the acting. For me, and I guess one of the reasons why it kind of loses a little bit for me is just the religion talk and the life and death talk is not me. I struggle sometimes with religion movies, especially those that really dive into it. I get lost in the conversation, and it's just not of a topic that as they get into it I'm as well versed in, and I want to get into, and is interest to me. So like I said, the two girls are there for religion. He knows about religion. He's trying to make a point with them, and everything that happens and follows to them in this house is all kind of religious based, and also based on life and death. And it kind of really escapes me. Like, I get the tension, I get the suspense of it. Like I said, the acting is really good. What he's saying, what they're doing, some of the stuff that happens to the girls as they, like I said, they go down. There's some creepy moments in it. Like I said, it says in the beginning, it's cat and mouse, and them trying to find their way out and get out and escape. I liked that, but you get a heavy dose of religious conversation. Obviously, religion plays a big role in what is happening here, and that just wasn't for me at the end of the day. And I didn't really know that going in, that it was going to be a lot of that. And it kind of gets a little bit away from that. Obviously, it's a big theme of the movie, and is always overhanging, even when we kind of get into the more horror stuff at the end of them trying to escape. But I guess I didn't like it as much because it's heavy on that, and a heavy theme in the movie. So I certainly see why people liked it and so forth. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. It's not for me to agree or disagree with any of the religion that's talked in it. It's fine. I'm not here to kind of get into that. I'm not the person to get into any of that. But to me, I just kind of lost my interest or myself in some of that early stuff, in some of that early religious stuff. And then it was kind of hard to kind of, gravitate in and stay in it at the end. Like I said, I liked some of the stuff that happened at the end, liked how they tried to escape, liked maybe some of the little bit of the twists and turns there, and the dramatics and suspense of it. I thought they did a good job with that. Obviously, they're going kind of in a basement under the house. It makes it dark. They are also going to unpack a little bit about how he went about getting them kind of caught and kind of got them to get in this cat and mouse game with him. I thought they do a good job of kind of going back and showing that without it kind of messing up the rhythm of the movie and so forth. So everything's kind of explained. They explain some certain things there, so you're not left into wondering why certain things happened, why they didn't just leave to begin with. So they did a good job with that. So there's the good, there's the bad with the movie. I see why everybody really liked it and so forth. Based on seeing what it has here on IMDb, that kind of makes me think that maybe we'll see this on some people's top 10 list. Again, for me, I think I'm going to end up doing 2.5 pools of blood at the end of the day, because it's just two ends of it for me. There's the good and the bad. I like the way it ended. I like the suspense or whatever. The whole talk of religion and life and death, and just I wasn't of interest of that, and that just didn't do enough for me. Surprisingly, the movie is an hour 51. Again, and I wasn't necessarily that I was bored by that or whatever. But yeah, there is a lot of conversation, and it's just one of those films that draw you into the conversation of the moment. Again, the acting is good, so it's not that it's bad. It's not like, oh my God, these terrible characters, these terrible actors are just going on. They don't shut up. They don't move on. That's all solid, but it's just what they're talking about is just not of interest to me. So it kind of loses a little bit for me, and that kind of being the background theme of the movie kind of loses it for me. God, what is the name of the movie that was earlier this year? Also had a religious theme. It had a little bit more blood and guts to it, so of course I gravitated to that, and that was of interest to me. But again, the religious part wasn't as much for me. So I guess if I bought into that, was more interested in that, I probably would have liked the movie more. But because you have to get past a good block of that early on, that's why I'm kind of split. I think that's why I'm going with 2.5 pools of blood. And you can make the argument for 3 pools of blood, because it is a good movie, it is well acted or whatever, and so forth. It is a good story. Obviously, again, you're into the psychological horror, maybe even a touch of true crime into that kind of girls disappearing and so forth, kind of element to it. But I don't know. I don't think I probably liked it as much as obviously a lot of other people did, and most of that, and I don't want to make it as it's a religious film, so I hate it and getting a huge negative. It just my interest in the film and keeping my attention and so forth just kind of loses it at that, especially when it's just a lot of talk. Kind of some of the Exorcist movies kind of or Exorcist type movies, not the Exorcist movie itself, but those kind of movies kind of do the same for me, when it kind of dives heavy on the religious aspect and talking about it and the back and forth and all that. That to me kind of drags for me. I'm more interested as when we get to people dying or the demon part of it or whatever. So obviously towards to me, more of the film was about how the girls are going to escape and the tension of that. But even that in itself then is kind of similar to some of the other stuff we've already seen, so it doesn't make it totally unique once we get to that. So I think that's another reason why I kind of have to split at 2.5 as opposed to maybe doing a little bit higher. But I certainly see why other people are really liking this movie, and I certainly recommend it. Obviously a lot of other people are recommending it, so if you haven't seen it yet, but that's just kind of where I fall on it. So that's going to be 2.5 pools of blood out of 5. So with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video. Certainly mostly video reviews as of late, so you can like, subscribe, and do everything else that everybody wants to do here on YouTube. But if not, no worries, it is okay. If you're not happy that I give it 2.5 pools of blood, I'm sorry, but it is okay. We can discuss that on Twitter, Facebook, which is also down below. Or in the comment section. You can tell me how much you love the film and how wrong I am, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree on this one with that. So with that, I guess I'll catch you in the next review, horror fans.